everyone, it's Ginger from stampingthecape.com. Thanks for joining me today. I'm doing my first of my 3 March Stamp Club projects. They're all focused on Easter or spring if you don't do Easter stuff. And I try to work a month ahead with my Stamp Club so they can prepare if they want to copy anything that we've done. And this month I'm using the Best Bunny bundle, which is the stamp set and coordinating punch. And I just went online and found that these are getting to be low inventory. So if you think that's something you'd be interested in purchasing, you might want to get it sooner than later if you need it for Easter. So today's project is this simple little card. I decided to keep this first one simple rather than get too complicated. Some of the other ones I'm going to show some techniques. So, but I explained once before on another video, when you have a punch that coordinates with the stamp set, the best way to line everything up is to actually punch out the image and then lay your stamps into the die cuts or the punched out lines there, and then you take your block, put it over, and pick your stamps up, and that way they're already lined up, ready to go when you go to punch them out. So that's just a little tip. And I'm going to be using the Sale-a-Bration paper. We just started March 1st with Sale-a-Bration coordination products, which these are products that coordinate with the past Sale-a-Bration items that are still available, but they're dies that go with the Lily stamp, the cupcake stamp, the frogs, and the 4 seasons, and a new punch that also coordinates with these new additional stamps that you can, these are all for purchase. These coordinate with the sentiments that are already on the stamp sets, but it gives you a little more flexibility. Also starting March 1st, which was a surprise to all of us demonstrators, they've added some new $50 items to the Sale-a-Bration list, and one of the items is the Painted Season Designer Series paper, which is what I'm going to be using today. That paper originally you could only get on a $100 bundle purchase with the coordinating stamps, but now if you want just the paper, if you purchase $50, you can get the Designer Series paper. But those flyers are on my blog, so you can check out those items for the details. So let's get started on this project. And as I said, it's a very simple card to start. We're starting with an 8.5 by 5.5 piece of Grapefruit Grove, which I've scored at 4 1/4. Then I have 4 pieces of the Designer Series paper, and I'm using just the mushroom pattern, which has that lovely, I believe that's Poppy Parade on the back. So we're using that piece, and then we're using the other coordinating piece, which is the lovely, I don't know if these aren't really pansies or poppies, but that has the coordinating green on the other side. So those are the 2 pieces we're using out of the pack. And as I said, they're 1 1/4 inch squares. If you have the retired Stampin' Up! 1 1/4 inch square punch, perfect, because it makes it nice and easy and they're all going to be the same size. If not, just use your paper trimmer. So that's the start of it. And then I'm going to stamp my bunny using Memento ink for that, and I'm going to ink it up face up so I can make sure I have all the areas covered well with ink. When sometimes I have a larger stamp, I like to do that just to make sure I'm getting good coverage. And I'm going to stamp them to this side because I'm going to want to also stamp the little carrot on this paper. So there we go there, and I've got and we want to put on his little face. You can put that right on here. And I'm using, there's 3 different facial patterns. I'm using the one with the little cute squinty eyes. So I can go there. And I'm going to stamp my carrot. And actually, while I have my ink out, I'm also going to stamp the Easter. Now I'm using, I didn't invest a lot of money in Easter stamps, although there are some wonderful ones in the Occasions catalog, but I'm using the Itty Bitty Greetings stamp set, and it does have an Easter Blessings, but I'm going to just use the word Easter, and we're going to be die cutting that out with the well-written dies. So let me see. What we're going to do is we're going to take the stamp that says Happy Easter, and I'm just going to, or excuse me, Easter Blessings, and I'm just going to take tape and cover over the word blessings. I try to accommodate everyone who celebrates the holiday, but some people are less religious, if you will, than others, and I don't want to offend anyone, so I try to stay as neutral as I can. And if someone wanted to do the blessings, all they have to do is stamp the whole sentiment, so they have that option. So now I've removed the tape, and I'm going to stamp it over here in this left corner of this piece of cardstock. Oh no, I didn't clean my stamp. Okay, let's do that again. This time I want to make sure my stamp is well cleaned and dry so I don't carry over the blessings part, obviously. I did that. I used that for something else, and that's what happened. Okay, so let's try that again. Take two. There's always a take two. Or at least there seems sometimes it takes three, it takes four. So let's do that again. And hopefully I can stamp it straight. Just take the tape off. This actually is probably the hardest part. And this stamp set is not a cling mount, one of our new cling mount sets, but what I've been doing, that'll work, okay. What I've been doing actually is the cling mount stamps that we have, you usually have pieces of the cling left over on the papers, and I've been cutting little pieces and putting them on the backs of my stamp, my regular clear mount stamps, so I still get the cling mount effect, which is great. So they're not going to shift. So we'll put that aside for now, and we're going to punch out our bunny. Let's see, that lines up pretty good. Just like I said, when you have it all set up, just have to watch you don't punch out your eyes. And I'm going to sponge all of these pieces in crumb cake. I'm just using one of my sponge wedges and crumb cake ink just to brown him up a little bit. I didn't want a totally brown bunny, but this will just give him a little bit of color around the edge. And you can make them as light or dark as you want. And if you don't use the wedges, you can use sponge daubers if that works for you. So I'm just giving him some color. As I said, you can go as dark or as light as you want to go. And depending on, with our new foam pads, how much they're inked up also depends on how dark or how light you're going to get on your sponge. If you've just inked up your ink pad, whenever you're sponging, you might want to test it or even rub off some of the ink first before you get into the sponging. Because like with anything, when you color or sponging or anything, you can always add more ink, but generally you can't take away ink. The only time you can take away some of the ink is when you're using Stampin' Blends and our, I'm trying to think, it has a clear alcohol marker, color lifter, that's the name of it. That can remove some ink. However, if you've got a really dark color, even that becomes difficult to do. So we're almost there with our sponging. And I didn't even add any pink to the insides of his ears this time. I'm just going with the sponging. But you know, if you decided you wanted to color him in, you could use any kind of marker, watercolor pencils, or anything like that. So I think we've got him pretty much done. All right, so I am going to use my blends for the carrot, and I am using the Calypso Coral combo and the Call Me Clover combo. So I'm going to start with the Calypso Coral, and I decided not to go with pumpkin pie. We do have pumpkin pie blends, but I decided to try to coordinate more so with the papers, and I think pumpkin pie would kind of throw it off a little bit. And then I'm just going to do across the lines here to accentuate the design of the carrot. And then I might just go in once more with the Calypso Coral, the light, just to kind of blend those two together a little bit. Make it a little bit darker. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing with the Call Me Clover light. Just go in and color that in really quickly. And then I'm just going to use the dark just to go over the stem lines that are already there, just very lightly, not pressing too hard, just to add a little bit of an accent there. And I'm going to cut that out, so I will speed this portion up for you. Okay, there we go. All right, so I'm going to use some glue dots to hold the bunny together at first, and then he's going to get put on with dimensionals. But we want to, I'm going to put a glue dot on the back of his head to stick it at first to his body, and I put it right under his little bump of his chin. And we can just attach him right on the edge. And then I'm going to use the paws, one for each of his paws. There. Oops. Did that glue dot not pick up? Oh, okay. There we go. And the other little paw. Oh, by the way, on those Sale-a-Bration coordination items, I read on a demonstrator site from England that those dies sold out in 3 days. Now, I don't see that they're low inventory right now, but again, they're only while supplies last. So if you think you want any of those coordinating dies to go with your Sale-a-Bration stamps, you might want to purchase them sooner than later as well. And then we're going to stick this little bunny tail behind him, just sticking up here. Just a wee bit. Okay, and now the carrot I'm going to stick on the front between his paws, if I can. Just going to slide that. Pick up his little paw and slide that behind there. There we go. It's so funny when I was doing it. Just this tilting of the bunny head just reminded me. I don't know if you watch that show that just finished up called The Masked Singer, and there was one of the singers was a rabbit, and it ended up being Joey Fatone. I don't know if you're familiar with him from, I think it was NSYNC was the boy band he was in, but he kept nodding his head like a psycho rabbit the whole time he was performing. And when I saw the bunny tilt his head, that's what I thought of. And I thought, oh, maybe I should tilt his head. But I thought, no, we won't do that. We won't go with the psycho bunny. So, okay. So I'm going to put a dimensional on the back of him here and a back here. And I'm actually, just for support, I'm going to cut a little piece and stick them behind his ears, just so that they have a little support. These little edges of your dimensionals are good for all kinds of little small areas. You can even cut them down even smaller. I never let a piece go to waste, so don't toss them out and think that they aren't worth anything. And then I think that's good. Yep, okay. So let's peel those off. Yeah, I didn't want to have a psycho bunny on my Easter card. So we're just going to set him in the middle. And he still wants to tilt his head. That's pretty funny. Okay. So let's get this out of the way. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of our multi-purpose adhesive to put on the back of this piece of Grapefruit Grove cardstock. And generally what I do is I cut the piece of adhesive smaller than the shape, as long as you have most of it covered. And actually I cut this one a little bit smaller than I normally would. I usually just leave like maybe a 1/16 of an inch. I've seen where some people have taken the adhesive and stuffed a larger piece of cardstock inside it and do it. I don't know. That method just seems to waste a lot of this adhesive, and I don't like to waste if I can help it. So I just have to peel off this paper, and I don't have my take your pick tool handy, so I'll just use the point of my scissors. Try to get that started. Of course, it's not going to come off easily because I'm doing a video. There we go. So what I do is I just peel the edge down, fold it over, and then flip it down so that you've got the adhesive down, and place it on the paper and peel it off that way. And that's going to give my word plenty of room to die cut it. And as I said, I'm using the well-written dies. It has all these wonderful word dies. It does have a coordinating stamp set. It is a bundle. But I think these are going to be great because you've got birthday and sympathy and friend and bride and groom and thanks and love and all kinds of things. So you can do all kinds of combinations, but I'm going to use the happy. So let me make room for my Big Shot and bring that over. Oh, there goes my snail, I think. Head in the shot again. Okay, so when you're using the multi-purpose adhesive, you want to put your, just as if you were normally cutting, you want to put your cardstock facing you, place your die on there, and then just cut as normal. And you might want to go through more than once, but generally these cut pretty well. But I will go back and forth just for the sake of safety for my part, because I always end up having a guffaw somewhere. And then you just pop this out. Your adhesive is on the back, and you're good to go. There you go. So I'm just going to place it on my piece, and now you just peel off the adhesive paper, and you've got your adhesive already. Nope. If you want to use, if you don't have the adhesive, if you want to use the fine tip glue pen, you can do that. But I just feel this adhesive just makes life so much simpler with these detailed die cuts. And just to add a little something to that, I'm going to use some Wink Stella and just go over the letters a little bit, just to add, they're not so flat. Gives them a little bit of shine. And you could do this actually before you even have applied it to the front, or if you wanted to even put glitter, if you wanted to use dazzling details with the fine tip glue pen and dazzling details, you could do that before you attached it here as well. That's another option if you are really big into. I have some gals who I know would want to do that. They love glitter, so maybe for them I'll give them that option, because I know they'll want to do it. Whenever I have a detail of glitter, they'll always say, "Is that the only place I can put it?" I'm like, "No, you can put it wherever you want." But at one time I told them I was going to have them sign a release, because actually I had to go to the eye doctor once because I got a piece of glitter in my eye. It must have been on my hand, and I touched my eye, and the next thing I knew, I had this scratching going on. And when I went to the eye doctor, he said, "No, it's plastic." And I said, "No, it's glitter." So I don't think he knew what I was talking about, but anyway, probably thought I was a little strange. So I'm going to put a dimensional on the left side and just a little bit of adhesive on the right. And we're just going to attach it right there, like so, hopefully straight. And there you go. So that's my first card. Very simple, very plain. You can zhuzh it up any way you want. And like I said, embossing the background. You could do the texture embossing folder for another step. So there you go. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll be back with project number 2. Bye-bye.